me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
It's really Parks and Recreation for a lot of communities is a preventative measure, right? So it's giving kids opportunities to engage in other positive outlets and positive experiences. That way they don't go down that negative route and have opportunities to explore and learn about other opportunities in the community.
Welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Today, we're excited to bring you a special conversation with Robert and Raymond, a father and son duo from Riverside and Monterey Park, California, who are continuing a proud family tradition in parks and recreation. Robert grew up spending more time in his local parks and rec facility than anywhere else, and that deep connection has shaped his passion and career. Together with his father, Raymond, they represent the heart of multi-generational dedication to community parks and the spaces that bring people together. We'll hear about their unique journey, how family legacy inspires their work, and the impact they're making in their communities. So get ready to dive into a heartfelt conversation about family, service, and the power of Parks and Rec, right here on the Daily Parks and Rec Show. All right, this is Craig LeBlanc again with the Daily Parks and Rec Show Leadership Series with two special guests. This is those multi-generational Parks and Rec that we often find in Parks and Rec, that people's parents or relatives maybe raised them in Parks and Recreation, and because of what they experienced, they decided to take that same career path. And so I wanted to welcome special guest Robert and his father Raymond to the show, who are out in Monterey Park, California, and Riverside, California. How are y'all doing today?
Really good, thank you.
Doing well, Craig. Doing well. I really appreciate you bringing us both on. This is I expressed to you. This for me means a lot to be able to share, the platform with my father and be able to be here with them. I actually drove out to Riverside this morning so I could be here with them. We're actually sitting in his office in the facility that I grew up in. I spent more time in this facility than I did at home growing up because this really was home for us.
Who is y'all's director over there in Riverside? Is that
Pamela?
I think I'm trying to think if the city sounds familiar. I've gone through so many cities, but I'm wondering if we have her scheduled or if she's been on the show in the past. But yeah, and this is one of those. A lot of times I like to dig into the why. Why are you in Parks and Rec? Why do you keep coming back? And then to be able to dig so deeply into your why as into multi-generational is just typically some of the best reasons. And that's kind of the heart and the passion of that I've often found in Parks and Recreation. So maybe we can start back with Mr. Raymond. How did you get involved in Parks and Recreation?
Actually, at first time, I really didn't want to work for Parks and Rec. I just wanted to coach baseball, do baseball, and help the kids out and stuff. And I got hit up by a gentleman, one of the directors at Bryant Park. And he asked me, I want you to work for me. I said, no, I'm not going to work for you. I'll volunteer and help you out. He goes, no, I need you. But it happened to him. He had bad experience with the kids in the community. They cut all his tires around his car. And they were just, malicious. Graffiti inside the restroom and everything. So I had to come in and kind of straighten it out, and it just kept going. It just didn't. There was never a stop to it. I just loved it. And I knew how to change the character of these kids, get them out of their street clothes, what they wear, and put them into uniforms, bottom uniform, either it was baseball, same thing, put on baseball shirts, kind of change the environment.
Yeah, that's
what he's not sharing is the area where Bryant Park is at is a severely disadvantaged area of Riverside. And so my father grew up in this area. And so it was one of those, he had a personal connection with the neighborhood and with the kids. So I think that's what the director saw was, hey, maybe if I can bring someone in that's connected to the neighborhood, that's respected in the area, then maybe he can help address some of these issues. And so what he's talking about with the uniforms, I mean, I don't think people often think about just how important those little things are of a team matching, right? Or you going to a game or a tournament and the other team has really nice outfits and really nice uniforms. And maybe if you're not from a more affluent neighborhood, you don't have those resources. And so, I'm sure other Parks and Rec have experienced where you've shown up and people have gotten tape on their jerseys because they need to have numbers, or written in marker, because that's just the resources that are available at that time. And especially back in those days, like there was a lot of that, and so I think being able to provide those little things to kids in this neighborhood kind of enhance their self-worth, and then also starts to change their mentality. Right. And so I think that's, and what he didn't share is he's been at this facility now for over 40 years.
Oh, so my goodness.
I like to brag about that because you don't see that as often these days in a lot of professions. Folks, move around, but as I mentioned earlier, this really is home, right? Like this is he's established himself a home here. I think that the community comes and they're looking for him and how he can provide resources and help the children in the area, and he's just made a massive impact on this neighborhood and this area. So.
Yeah, that's amazing. Is it possible for you to like point your camera down a little to where your heads are closer to the top? There you go. A little bit more.
Let's see.
Perfect.
All right.
That way my editors are happy with it. I really didn't even think about that, but I can imagine if you're trying to get, young kids to take pride in their community, that having them feel like they belong can be as simple as just getting them a jersey or a shirt, or put them on a team. That way they have a place to focus all that energy. Maybe talk about what were your first. So now you've been hired officially. If we can go back to those days, you've been hired officially to come on to try to, help these kids, maybe do something a little more positive with their energy. What were some of the first things that you did in those early days?
I was shell shocked that I got the position. Yeah, because I was wondering if I was going to go to corrections, because I had the city with a job and the corrections. They really wanted me to go that way, and I said no. I'm going to stay here because I got to help kids before they get to the place. And now my biggest obstacle said no way, I'm going to stay in here. So I told my director at that time, I said, if you guys don't hire me, I got to leave.
Yeah,
so I got to take that position somewhere else. But they took it upon themselves. Yes, absolutely. And I think that my first, because I was stuck with a lot of new programs and stuff, and I loved it because I got to take the kids fishing. I got to take the kids to basketball games. So I even got buses and stuff. So we went to get camping. So there was a lot of good stuff that I had the opportunity to bring the kids along. Hey, we're going to go on a field trip. We're going to a field trip, and just going outside the community itself. Then we have a Galleria, which is a mall. And I took kids, we're going to go to the mall. And for them, it was like, what? We're going to go to the mall. And it was like, wow.
Yeah.
So,
I love it.
Yeah, I'm smiling because I'm like, I'm a kid that benefited from this, even though I wasn't particularly in that situation because my father was obviously working, but I was friends with these kids, right? So understanding like what their lifestyles are like or the things that they're going through. And then this is the first time that someone's taken the time to take them fishing, to take them to a mountain or to experience snow, or like I said, just within the mall he's talking about is 2 miles away. But that kind of speaks to what's going on in this area. And especially at that time, these kids really didn't have those opportunities. This was their area. And that's all they really saw. Right. So there's these invisible walls of opportunity for them. And so they're even something as simple as going to the mall was a big deal because they got out of the neighborhood.
Yeah, and for those of us that think that Parks and Rec is not necessarily needed, it's more of a want, it can be cut, we have more urgent things to pay for. I think we want to take a good hard listen here at this episode to show that, and just to make sure I'm framing this correctly, this is an underprivileged area of town, kids that may come from broken homes that are getting into trouble, and then Mr. Raymond, you actually caught them on the back end after they got in trouble with the law, and you're seeing this as an opportunity to maybe catch them before they get to that point and give them a good place And Robert, you and your brothers were he kind of drug y'all along.
I I wouldn't say drug, because we were gladly. I mean, we didn't know any better, right? These
Right.
are, we were here every day. For us, even though we lived nearby, I mean, this is where we were. After school, we were at the park, and we were usually at the park until it was time for Dad to take us home, which was usually after his work day, because we were still here for basketball practice, football practice, doing all the activities, involved in all of the programs. So, but yeah, just speaking to what you're saying, it's really Parks and Recreation for a lot of communities is a preventative measure, right? So it's giving kids opportunities to engage in other positive outlets and positive experiences. That way, they don't go down that negative route, and have opportunities to explore and learn about other opportunities in the community. More positive.
Yeah, and just the human species is so alive that being alive is movement, and whether you're moving towards something destructive or something positive, you're going to do something. It's so hard as a human to just do nothing. And so giving them some positive outlet, some community to belong to, I can't think of a more necessary part. And I love how you use that word preventative. Maybe speak about how it's preventative and what kind of things are these kids picking up along the way?
Well, right now we were the first community center in the city of Riverside to have a computer lab, and again, sponsored through a county supervisor that sits with the city, and they've joined efforts to get the computer lab, which it was good because the kids. Our library is miles away, and we don't have. What do we do? When I grew up, we had encyclopedias and stuff like that, so they didn't have nowhere to really go. So we had 18 computers set up really in network together, be printers and stuff. They could do their homework, and this is their area where they could function real much better at a higher level, because now they can come back and say, hey, my teacher was happy. Look at because we had Photoshop at that time. Okay, so they were you do that stuff.
And give me a time frame. So what year did you start this?
Oh, we started that almost 35 years ago.
Wow. So
when computer labs were just a thing, when it just started to be, And another outlet he has here, which is something I can remember the years, and this is probably 80s and 90s when he first started the idea of like, hey, I want to bring a boxing gym to this park. And so he used to do visioning, right? I remember, and I don't know if he remembers this, but he used to put up pictures throughout the park about, hey, this is what we want to see. This is what we're going to try and bring, and getting people behind the visioning of what could be here. And lo and behold, years later, this facility has a boxing gym, and it has boxing matches, and they do exhibition matches and a full fitness area. So kids are able to come, and that's another preventative outlet, right, for them to express themselves, learn discipline, also get out some of that aggression, or deal with some of the mental health things that they're going through that they don't know how to deal with. And so now they're coming here and learning how to train, how to be physical, how to be healthy. And also, like I said, I think a huge one is just learning discipline.
Now, maybe you can speak about some of those moments, because I can imagine a lot of these kids come from broken homes where they might not even know their father, or their father's just no longer around. Maybe talk, and you don't have to mention any names, but what are some of the common, coaching moments that you saw throughout the year where you kind of were their father figure in their life?
Well, it's long an agenda.
Yeah.
A lot of times we had to go pick up kids for a flag football game because they didn't have a ride. And we had to go wake and knock on their door, wake the kids up. And on the way to the fields, we'd buy them breakfast.
Okay? Oh, gosh.
So, I mean, that's the reality part of it, that we went through that stuff. But it was something we had to buy shoes for them because they didn't have the proper shoes. Yeah. So it was about obstacles, but what, we overcame those because we enjoyed what we did. I had good parent support. Okay, my coaches have been with me for many years, 20 years. Yeah, one passed away about 3 or 4 years ago, but he was a backbone for me. So that's things that we did.
Yeah, shout out to Stan. Yeah, he's the longtime coach here that just recently passed away.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Now tell us more about Stan. What was his role? He was just one of the coaches that helped you, that contributed to the kids if there was any needs involved.
And he was about a 6'8" young man
Ah,
with my age, but he's 6'8". But he was a big teddy bear, as we kind of call him. Be soft, and he never yelled at the kid, but he talked to him, coached them, not just in that sport, but outside the sport industry about life in general. What he take you. So he and actually did football. He did
Yeah.
football in high school, and he did basketball for us, the community center, and we traveled a
mhm.
lot with those kids.
It just completely volunteered. He had no other, that was his role here at the center was, and there's several folks like that. They've been longtime volunteers. They care about the kids. They know the impact that they're making on the community. And, they become part of the family.
Mm.
And I mean, back to what he was saying about those are the moments that kind of impacted my life. Like as a child, like seeing those things of my father providing shoes, something as simple as shoes, to another child, so that they can play on our basketball team, or so that they can, they couldn't afford cleats, so that, when we're going to flag football season, they would have the proper shoes and they weren't embarrassed because they were only one on the team that didn't have cleats.
Mm.
So those are those little things that for me, I don't know that he realizes that a lot of his mentoring and the things that impacted my life wasn't so much always through the things that he said. A lot of times it wasn't through it was his actions, right? It was me seeing it in real time, all of the things that he did physically, the actions that he took, that really impacted people's lives, and it really impacted my life, right? Because I went down a life of service, and I can tell you this is the greatest job ever. I
Mm.
challenge anyone to say otherwise.
Yes, fantastic. Okay, so maybe let's talk about, we'll start with the equipment and then some of the activities. So on day one back then and all along the way, what was the condition of, I guess, the program or the facilities and stuff? And then what did y'all have to, like you said, did y'all have to get a bus? Shoes is another one, but how did it develop over time? What were some things y'all had to go get?
Well, the thing is, you had to go get some money
Yep.
and talk to people, and talk to supervisors and talk county supervisors, elective official council people to get me to buy in, make it feel it was their idea.
Mhm.
Okay. If it was their idea, it was fantastic. They opened doors, and that's, how we share that the thought of, hey, it's great. We have a winning team. It's not so much winning, but what, the involvement of the kids' mentality. Because no, we always lose. We don't, nobody cares. And I said, no, we're going to win. So we did
Mm.
a lot of winning, but they didn't understand it. Winning at the game, but winning also keeping them involved, engaged in what we were doing. Also,
I love I love that. Okay, so let's pretend like a moment you're speaking to an elected official, if you can rewind and remember those conversations, because so often in Parks and Rec, we struggle at representing the need, and as a result, some of these programs get cut because they're just not seen by elected officials as critical to the health of the city and the community. And so here you are speaking to someone that can steer funding your direction. Can you remember what some of those conversations sound like? Thinking that there are some real time conversations like this that maybe could benefit from being a part of that conversation.
you'd be surprised that even my mayor, it's years ago, he didn't know
Mhm.
where we were at. His
Mhm.
own community there. I said, no, Bryant Park, where's it at? I said, I'll tell you, but I want to invite him back. What I have a group, and I have kids, and that group is Project Hope. It's a club. So every week or 2 weeks, we have a guest speaker. So we get the city manager come and speak to the kids.
Oh, I
But
love it.
so in the city council would show up to the meeting and stuff. Because once you got one, they say, hey, I'm going to do it too, because now they're looking at what it's in for me, and they got to share that, so their experience in life, and the kids loved it. I had this good attorney for the kids that are in violence, to explain to them what happens to you if you get arrested in drugs, whatever it is, because Riverside County is one of the worst in the United States as far as
Mm.
DA throwing the target at gang members and stuff. So
Yeah.
they have to understand that with what would happen to him. So those guest speakers. So that's how he bought in our city manager, or even our council person, our mayor, to buy into those and get the money. Even the county supervisor, he threw in $20,000 for the computer lab.
I love that. Okay, so So what you're saying is there's only so much that can be captured in words in a conversation at City Hall. It's much better from your experience to say, hey, let me show you what your money supports. Come speak to these children, come to an event, come to a game, watch your team play. Is that what you're saying was more powerful?
Absolutely. Yes.
And
Absolutely.
then were there any, I had no idea as they left? What was their experience after? What was the conversation like after they attended something with you or spoke to these kids?
They didn't understand it. At first, they didn't understand who was that person. And I had to explain to them again. I said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go downtown. We're going to get the bus. And we took a field trip down to City Hall. And I showed them the levels of each level 1, level 2, of which floor, what was in those floors, even where building maintenance was, stuff. So they understood where the mayor's office was. So we got to visit the mayor. They were taking the kids down there to you. So they enjoyed that because they had cookies and milk and stuff for drinks and stuff because we went down there. So we went reverse way to show them what it really was.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Raymond is putting on a masterclass for how to get funding for any such project. This is exactly how you do it. It reminds me, I used to go on mission trips down to Saltillo, Mexico, which is a very poor area of Mexico. Nothing could ever speak of in place of just seeing the work you were doing. And I think if you're going to get an elected official on your side and you're restricted to the written word or the spoken word, you're really handicapped. If you can get an official to attend and speak to the kids and then and if you really want to take it to the next level, do what Mr. Raymond did, take a bus of them down to the City Hall.
Absolutely.
And now how can they tell those kids no? Because especially coming from the correctional side saying, I know where they're going to end up if we don't give them something to do.
Yes, sir.
And then, okay, so y'all had to get a school bus as well. Is that something y'all had?
Yeah, we went down the corner and there's a Greyhound bus that picks us up. It's open the RTA,
public transportation.
Public transportation.
No funding for a school bus. It's put your quarters in the machine.
That's it. Fantastic. So then tell me about the uniforms and the equipment and some of the other stuff, and then also some of the sports. What activities, just give me the laundry list of activities over the years that y'all brought these kids on.
Well, right now, since 205, the building is built up. It has a boxing facility. So with a boxing facility, I have seniors right now in the morning. Okay, they're like from 8 to 1 o'clock. But also, as we go throughout the day, in the afternoon, the kids coming from 3 to 6. We have weightlifting. We have a facility, top of the line units. Okay, everybody's amazed how well they kept up. I have a dance and cheer, have karate. Okay, so we have all of those for those kids now. We have then we have soccer for the kids, basketball. We have 2 different sets of different travel teams and the regular kids. And I get the regular kids because they don't know, the travel teams are paid and all that stuff. And I said, no, we can't afford that. We'll just do the recreation.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. I love it.
And we buy the uniforms for them to make sure that the city now provides that, because what happened in the past, I was going out there and my coaches were going out to the community businesses and getting money for them to buy the uniforms. Well, what was happening, other sites weren't doing that. And we started looking the nicer group. Okay, like Robert was one of those kids that all my teams were the Lakers, which at that time they were purple and gold and all that stuff, Laker teams. But the other teams that played in the city didn't have the opportunity because their directors didn't go out and do the hustle. So now the city took over and said, you know what, we're going to get everybody to look match. So now we have reversibles, and so now even the flag football team now, they'll have T-shirts now, different colors and stuff. So they invested in the kids more. Yeah, and we have very good support from our department. Excellent support.
Yeah. So these are the days before you had where it was a standard program where like a jersey was included as part of your fee. This is way back
before all that.
These are the kind of things that kind of spearheaded those movements towards, hey, maybe the league should provide that. That way, every kid has a uniform. Every kid feels like they're part of a team. Like I said, these are those days when every kid showed up with a white T-shirt and they're markering numbers on the back of their shirts. And today you're number 12, or we have 2 number 12s. Okay, we got to put a piece of tape to make this one a number 11. These are those days.
Yeah. So starting 35 years ago, this was really a pioneer for this industry to be able to do this for their inner city kids and stuff like that. Has anyone ever highlighted your career or this, what was done for the country to see? I'm just curious. Or is this the first?
I really don't see myself that way. I'm very humble, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care too much for the pats on the back and stuff, because I do it for the love. And I get teary eyed thinking about that, because I invested my time, because it wasn't a job.
Mm-hmm.
It was not a job. I never took it as a job.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what's important to highlight, is that it's very empowering work. And even though you get paid monetarily, there's so many other payments that you get from the impact that you're making in these children's lives, the difference you're making in the community. You have to know on the back end you're lowering future crime, because these kids now have discipline that they might not have gotten any other way. So I'm glad we get this chance to kind of highlight this for the nation to see, and we're going to blow this episode up as much as possible.
Now, I will step in and say I do want to thank the city of Riverside and the recreation department here. They did recognize him recently for his 40 years here with the city. So there's actually here in the boxing gym, there's a big plaque with his picture going like this, and recognizing the 40 years of dedication to the community. So I really appreciated that. It was a good opportunity for myself and my brothers to come out and watch him be recognized for that. We long for the day that, and we always joke with them, that his name gets put on this building, because that not only would it mean a lot to us, but I think really to the community and the kids that have passed through this program of generations. You think about 40 years, there's people's grandkids that have, their grandfathers went through his program, and now
they're my coaches.
Now they're his, yeah, exactly.
Now they're the coaches.
Yeah.
And I feel so lucky, I go out to conferences, and I when I run into folks from Riverside, they're just like, "Oh, I'm not Robert Aguirre. I'm Raymond Aguirre's son."
Yep.
That's when I become that. And there's nothing. I gladly be Raymond Aguirre's son, because I'm so proud of all the work that he's done, and the impacts that he's made on this community. And I love meeting people that have come through his program. So, or not just the kids that he's impacted, but also the staff that he's mentored, that have gone on and into other positions and are now coordinators at other sites in Riverside. For me, meeting them and them kind of sharing like the impact that he's had on them, and how they're just blown away by the things he is able to get done. And they've learned so much from him, and they can still call him. Actually, at the last conference I was at, the young girl was like, "I can call him right now. He's going to answer. You want to see?" And I was like, he probably wouldn't answer my call. He's going to answer yours. But it just speaks to, the impact that he just makes on people's lives. And like you said, even for me, it's not work. We're very, I'm so grateful for for what we get to call work. I look forward to going, some of my executive teams always, I say, yeah, I look forward to coming to work, and they kind of sound sideways, but it's like, no, I get to come and hang out with people and like-minded folks that are really trying to innovate and be creative and do fun. I mean, if I'm not having fun at work, I'm doing it wrong. That's how I always look at it. It's like, we get to do some really fun stuff.
Fantastic. And often, as men, we measure our success often monetarily. How much money did we make? How much inheritance did we leave our kids? How big was our business? How many possessions and properties did we acquire? But if you really want to measure yourself as a man, here's the measuring stick that you should use. How many men want to follow in your footsteps?
Yeah.
How many coaches are out of the crowd of kids that you coached along the way? And so if you can leave a multi-generational wave of men that want to coach, of men that want to follow in your footsteps, to me, that's the highest level of success that you can measure against your life. And so maybe are there any examples of some of your former athletes coming back to coach?
Well, I had Joanna Hayes. She was an Olympian.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Yeah, Joanna Hayes. She was an Olympian. Tyree Washington was also an Olympian too. Okay.
In what sports?
Excuse me, in track
and field.
track and field.
What was their event?
I think Joanna was the 100, the height of the
100.
hurdles.
Hurdle,
Mhm.
100 dash hurdles, and I think Tyree was
The
400.
400.
Oh, wow.
I still
Yeah.
have some of the stuff in the trophy case.
Yeah. Now tell me more about your boxing, Jim. Did you box when you? How about your childhood? Did you
We
have?
did the backyard boxing. But we did the backyard boxing, but I did have an uncle. He had one arm, and he taught me and my brother how to box. But he took us to Tijuana at those times. You were more you go out there and you find out fighters for you to see who they match you against, and they bet on the side, and you not knowing what they're doing.
Oh, no, that's the old school way to learn how to box.
Yeah. So I found out that no, it's not for us, but we enjoyed it. But I mean, but in the back burner, it was part of the thing that I went to a gym and I seen it, and I said, you know what, we can do that here. And I got the council person to buy into it. I said, hey, let's take a ride. We need to go see, because first of all, I told her I was going to go see the computer lab. So we got to the computer lab, and I said, by the way, let's go look at the boxing. We went into that, so she bought in, and before you know it, the language started going on, and we got to get the boxing facility.
Yeah. You know, I don't think we talk enough about, a lot of times we talk about game day or practice day. You know, what does a practice look like? What does a game look like? But one thing I don't think we talk about enough, which I think you can speak at a high level on this, is what's all the other stuff? You know, what are the conversations? What are when you said they're not putting in the hard work, or they're not asking, or they're not going to see other facilities? Let's talk about all the stuff outside of practice and game when you're a coach or somebody trying to build up a program that you think that maybe gets overlooked.
That's a very good question. I never, I don't think the hard work it's just kind of getting the people involved, the parents to buy in.
Yes.
Because if they don't buy in, a lot of times the kids are getting rides, and they depend on us to be the babysitters. Okay, and not only that, the kids are not eating properly. Okay, so a lot of things goes into that, and that's why a lot of times I talk to the city council people for the same reason, because we have a nonprofit organization, so we use that funnel that money when the kids don't have that. We can afford it to buy that stuff for them. And if we have to buy breakfast for all the kids, we'll do that. So we don't want them to go without. It's just too hard to compete and be at that level, just to be I think to massage your brain, because it's just the weak. They're weak in their nutrition stuff. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Were there any nonprofit partnerships that you formed over the years, or that helped out to kind of, do this mission?
Oh yeah, we have a baseball team. Well, it's not a baseball team; it's a league, baseball softball league that we had, Quinto softball. Okay, we got teams from each lower income areas, which was like La Sierra, Casablanca, East Side. There's different areas throughout the city. So we got a lot of guys to participate. With all that, we did that 32 team league and stuff. We during that time we decided to do a fundraiser. And we had a tournament. So the tournament consists of 30 to 40, 50 teams, 60 teams, to raise toys for the community. So we were raising, and we worked close with the Marines, Toys for Tots at that time too. So we got a lot of toys for the community, for the kids.
Yeah.
So, it just overtook a lot. So I did that for over 30 years.
Yeah.
And sorry, that's the same? Quinto was the one that was recognized by the Rivers. So they were
by the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. So the program he's talking about, Quinto Barrio, they used to. I remember being a kid. I used to actually scorekeep at some of the softball games. So they managed the softball leagues and tournaments, basically to raise money that then went back into youth programs. And so the city of Riverside actually recently recognized the Quinto Barrio League in the Riverside Hall of Fame, Sports Hall of Fame here in Riverside. So I was actually able to attend the dinner for that as well. And my father, my uncle, and then also their good friends Phil and Fred we're part of that. We're also recognized by the Riverside Sports Hall of Fame for their work in youth programming.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about the age groups. You know, when did they start? And then what was the population maybe in year one? What's the population you're working with now?
Cradle to grave.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think with that's the thing with recreation programming, right? It's from birth to last breath. I mean, right now we're at his facility, and he's got a number of seniors in here working out. And then you know, he has daycare programs or youth programs, and really touching the lives from start to finish and all those in between. Some of those at the most vulnerable ages of our seniors, and then also our teens that are vulnerable for different reasons, because they're entering that stage where they can make some critical decisions and choices in their lives. I actually worked here in the city of Riverside for a program called Project Ridge for a stint, and it was focused on case management for youth that were involved in gang-related crimes or on gang probation. And that's also in partnership with the recreation department. And so kind of just going back to that preventative aspect of trying to engage with these youth early so that they understand that there's other options and other opportunities for them to make a positive, take their lives in a positive direction.
And what age could they get involved with sports in? Did y'all start like a little baseball league at third, fourth grade, fifth grade?
Or earlier than that? You're taught with your
we started at 3 years old.
3 years old, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 3 years old. Call them Tots.
Tots.
Yeah.
The peewees. Are they peewees here still?
Peewees, juniors. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's So at 3 to 4 years old, they're already learning how to kick a ball, how to play. I mean, I think somewhere at my mom's house, I probably still have a old T-shirt of when I was a peewee when I was in the peewee program. Yeah.
Now
that's when you really start to learn those fundamentals, right? That kick. I mean, in T-ball, what's the first thing that kid needs to learn how to do? Run to first base, because what do they all do? They run to third.
That's a great lesson. Okay, so let's talk about the. I'm trying to think. What are the?
Let me ask you, Craig.
Sure.
You know, you've done 125, 26 episodes now. And I know that recreation is not the background you come from. So what's been in those episodes? What's been some of the most profound things that you've heard or experienced in these conversations? Being I wouldn't say an outsider, but because now you've really become part of our recreation community. Yeah. But you know, in just 126 episodes, I'm sure there's been some things that have really stood out to you that have maybe made an impact and kind of also helped you kind of say like, hey, I'm taking this in the right course. You know, I'm really
right. I would say the most profound thing, because I was actually in retirement, thanks to, you know, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, and then I threw all my money into Bitcoin. Just got lucky on that one. Shout out to all my Bitcoin people. But most people dedicate their life to a paycheck, and in retirement, they're looking to do what your father's doing right now.
Okay.
And Parks and Rec people get to do that legacy thought process, that give back, that purpose-driven life their entire career. And I think that's something that's not held up as a major reason to dedicate your life to Parks and Recreation, is that you can start retirement activity now and in your 20s. If you're the kind of person driven by purpose and meaning and making a difference, you don't have to wait till you're 65. You can start when you're 18. You can start volunteering when you're 15 and then make this your career. So all along the way, you're making a difference in people's lives and making a difference in your community, and you get a paycheck for it. And versus waiting till most of your best years are spent before you're making a difference in your community. And to me, that's the treasure inside of Parks and Rec that most people are completely blind to.
Yeah.
They're just looking at, I can make maybe 20% more being in something over here. versus this industry, day one, you're making a difference in kids' lives. That's probably the thing the most powerful thing I've learned in 126 episodes.
Couldn't agree more. And that's why we always tell them, like, there's no point in retiring. You're already, you enjoy every day. The only time you should decide to retire is when you dread coming to work. And I don't know that he'll ever have that day. So,
well, and I can say as a man and as a father, that as you get older, you start saying, what am I doing? What is all this for? Is this really the purpose of my life, to work for this little check that shows up every Friday? And a lot of times people regret that they've waited so long to make a difference, and maybe search for a career where you can start making a difference immediately. And I can tell you there's one that exists in every city in America, every county in America. And it's called Parks and Recreation. Get involved any way you can, and that way you'll live a rich life. And maybe you two can speak on this. It's not because it's easy. I think of it like the guy that wants to climb Mount Everest. He's not picking the easiest mountain to climb, and he's not climbing mountains. It can kill you. But why do they work so hard for something that's dangerous and difficult? And they have a purpose to achieve a goal, but how much more worthy is it to achieve a goal of making a difference in kids' lives? And so this is why I think y'all endure so much adversity and challenge day after day without seeming to tire. It's seeming like y'all get stronger over the years, not weaker.
Yeah. And the amount of hours, I mean, we're definitely that position when you interviewed first on, it's like, now you understand this is going to be weekends, evenings, holidays. Most rec professionals probably have never spent a 4th of July with their family, or it's been many years since they haven't. They have lots of holidays we're spending with the community. It's just, that's part of life. It's what we enjoy doing. But in all those countless hours, they're just part of the job. It's something that you accept as, hey, this is the job.
Yeah. This reminds me of a quote by one of I grew up Catholic, and I don't know if y'all remember Cardinal Ratzinger when he became Pope of the Catholic Church, and he had a famous quote that said, "The world offers you comfort, but you were not made for comfort. You were made for greatness." And I think when men have identity crisis is when they're chasing comfort. But that is not what we are built for. We are built to conquer. We are built to do great things. We are built to endure all the struggles y'all have laid out. And I think men get in trouble when they dedicate their life to something that's far beneath what their spirit's capable of. And that's why when I see men like y'all that have spent your entire career dedicated to other people, to solving these problems, because essentially that's what you're doing, Mr. Raymond. These kids can't solve these problems. They were just dealt a rough hand, and you're stepping in between them and this adversity that might find them in trouble later on, and you're making the difference in their life between incarceration and maybe having a family. So I don't see a more powerful occupation out there. And like you said, you're the preventative side of our world versus cleaning up the mess on the back end when they were neglected. So, my hat's off to this industry, and especially you, Mr. Raymond and Robert, for picking up the slack where these kids fall through the cracks. So maybe we can talk about so what's going on right now as far as in Monterey. How have you taken some of your lessons learned as a child into your current position?
Oh, absolutely. And I'll jump in. I just want to correct you because it's Monterey Park. And I say that because in Northern California, we have the city of Monterey. We always get confused. I get calls throughout the year asking about how they can, reserve something on the lake. And Monterey Park does not have a lake. And so I've actually, funny story, one time we got a shipment of rocks in the mail of some folks that had vacationed in the city of Monterey, got home, felt guilty about the rocks they had taken from the lake, and decided to ship them back. Well, they shipped them to us in Southern California. But yeah, no, being the director, I've been with director now for 4 years. with the city of Monterey Park for 17. And I would look at my role there, not just on the preventive side, but also trying to create core memories for youth, for families. Obviously this profession and growing up in Parks and Rec, I have a ton of core memories, things that just I hold on to dearly. And so I look to do the same for those other families that come through our programs. And I'm very fortunate. I have an amazing team. We're a small but mighty team that looks to continue to push the envelope and find ways to innovate. Our department really never wants to just be doing the same thing repetitive year after year. Even if we do the same event, we're always looking at like, how do we make it that much better the next year? What else can we add to it? Always trying to invest in like things long term. That way, the next year we can kind of 2x whatever we did the previous year.
Yeah, and that is one of the purposes of the Daily Parks and Rec show, is to highlight the best practices, not just in maybe running a good sports league, but also in managing capital, getting grant money, finding ways to work with nonprofits. And so I know out there in America, there are the top 10 at finding nonprofits to help in the mission that's given to Parks and Rec. And so let's go find them. If you're out there and you feel like you're one of those, come on to the show. Let's highlight what you do so that we can share it with the 12,000 cities out there trying to do what Raymond and Robert are doing. And in that way, we can do more with less, because I've never met a Parks and Rec department that didn't have a intimidating list of deferred maintenance or programs or kids in need or something. They have way more stuff to do than stuff to do it with. So finding a way to give y'all more power to be able to do the important work y'all are doing, I think that's some way we can contribute.
Absolutely. And kind of what you were saying as far as the nonprofits, that's one area where we've definitely stepped up in our department. Is back January 21st of 2023, our city experienced a mass casualty event. And so we understood partnering, the importance of partnering with a lot of our local nonprofits, really trying to address mental health, even upping our access to resources for the community during a very tragic and difficult time for the community. So we've established tons of partnerships with our local nonprofits, and those just really, continue to add additional resources and unique resources like the mental health, but not just the traditional mental health of seeing a therapist or someone to talk to, but really establishing new programs or new ways to engage with a community that may see certain types of mental health as taboo, or to even talking about mental health as taboo.
Let me maybe help me understand, what are some nonprofit categories that each city should have that category filled? So, let's just say you haven't worked. Let's say you're a city and you haven't partnered with a lot of nonprofits. Is there any advice you can give somebody? Well, you want somebody that is a nonprofit that works with feeding underprivileged kids.
I was going to say definitely food. Food is one. I know my father works with like different food pantries and stuff like that. I think food
banks, food pantries,
stuff like that. Yeah. I think access to resources for health, both physical, emotional, mental, are huge. I think those are the people. Sometimes people they don't know where to go. They're looking for those things. I think definitely senior resources. I think that's probably one of the number one calls that we get. Very fortunate. We have a very successful senior program and senior center. So we get a lot of phone calls for senior resources, looking for medical stuff for them. Again, food scarcity is a huge one. Nonprofits that offer different types of activities, or that are willing to subsidize some of those programs, whether it be daycare, childcare. I run one of our programs that we have a licensed daycare facility. So a lot of the nonprofits that we partner with for that actually help subsidize the cost of that program for some of the participants. What are some other nonprofits that you think are important?
Well, the thing is that I have a nonprofit organization that my wife works with, and she does a pantry and stuff. But she also a referral service for people to need ideas where to go get assistance. Is it housing? Because a lot of people are homeless and stuff.
Yeah.
She knows exactly the directory. Because she has it. I can call her up and say, hey, where can you find me a home? Because I got a family here that needs. They're living at the park with their kids in the park.
Yeah.
So she'll be able to resource them and guide them which way. Or I have a directory of job listings. So I can say, okay, I have 7 pages of jobs. So don't tell me you can't find a job. So I give them the directory, you know what, here. And come back later and tell me what you find.
That reminds me, I actually started a nonprofit called Legacy Formation, and it worked with, it was a mentorship program. But we used to feed the kids, and I partnered with a couple of restaurants, and they were like, we'll feed them forever because we have food that's good. It was like a buffet style, and it was getting ready to get thrown away. And so we would just come up at the end of the day, get trays of food. I mean, we had more food than we could get our hands on. So there are restaurant opportunities out there that if you have kids that need to eat that day, that's one idea. But yeah, stuff like that. I think, are there any specific nonprofits that maybe we could get on the show that would be willing to come speak about how they partner with the city?
The one that we partner with quite a lot in Monterey Park, we have about 65% Asian population. So one that we partner with a lot is our Chinatown Service Center, and they also offer a lot of like the resources that I was talking about with mental health. And actually, after the mass casualty tragedy, we helped establish, and we have a partnership with their MPK Hope Resiliency Center. So they actually have a permanent, but while we were establishing the Resiliency Center, they were actually utilizing one of our community centers. And so that's one that we partner with pretty regularly. And they also do a lot of programming in our senior centers. So we offer a lot of different classes for mental health. So not just your traditional, like I said, counseling, it's also yoga, calligraphy, learning how to, we just started a taiko drum, which is the Japanese drumming. We just started a Japanese drumming class at our facility. So just doing a variety of different things that help people with their mental health.
And maybe we can talk about how often partnerships between nonprofits and the city or Parks and Rec department can be a match made in heaven, because a lot of nonprofits have the mission, they have the manpower, they have the money, but they have no facilities.
And they need the people, right?
Right.
People. I my senior center, I know I'm going to have hundreds of seniors there every day. Right. When if anyone's listening, they want to come talk to seniors, I have at least 200 seniors eating lunch at my facility every day. So you want an audience that's already ready to listen. Bring some freebies. They love free stuff, so bring some freebies, and they'll listen to your spiel for sure.
Yeah, and if you have, like you said, if you have a nonprofit whose mission is to serve, let's say, young kids or the elderly, cities have both. Well, they have everything living in their jurisdiction, and they have buildings, and they have electricity and air conditioning and tables and stuff. And so all they need is many times a nonprofit to show up with, combining the forces of a nonprofit and the forces of a city, and they really merge well together. Because if a city tries to do some of this stuff, now you're kind of double working. You're almost, I don't want to say competing, but in a way you kind of are competing with a nonprofit, whereas these partnerships typically can allow, it's a win-win scenario, really a win-win-win, the community, the city, and then the citizens as well, and the nonprofit.
And that's kind of part of what recreation is, right? It's enhancing quality of life. It's also creating community through our programs, through our events. So us working with other agencies and other nonprofits, it's really about creating that community, sharing resources. I mean, like you said, we have the facility. So if we have a room, we want to fill it. We want things going on. We don't want a facility that no one's in or no one's utilizing or enjoying. So yeah, I mean, I think those partnerships are huge. And it's really, everything is there for the community for them to enjoy and to benefit from.
Okay, so then if there's anyone wanting to follow in y'all's footsteps, what are some ways they can get involved in their city? Maybe say, look, every city's going to have this. This is how you can. These are some volunteer opportunities that should exist in every city. This is where you can send your kids if you're like a single mom and you really don't have a place to send your kid. Look for this. Call your city. Maybe what are some common resources that you can kind of give to people listening?
So definitely check out cities' websites. Most cities now have social media. I would say definitely look for most cities, Riverside, Monterey Park, and most all cities have some type of brochure that'll have programming and upcoming activities. And I would say look and visit your local community center. Just walk in, introduce yourself. I have lots of those folks that come daily to our centers. We're new to the city. Hey, we just moved here. What do you guys offer? Don't be afraid to go, or there's an event coming up, go visit that event and see what it's all about. And for those that are interested in working, just look for the shirt with the logo on it. Some cities will have a big staff across the back, but just talk to people. We're always looking for, and definitely, I know, especially this day and age, we want more people working in the profession. And what we're finding, and a lot of, I'm sure you've heard this story plenty of times, is that folks get it started as a part-timer and they fall in love with the profession. And some folks fall in love with the profession, or and I always kind of joke with folks is, I dare you to go into any city hall, throw a rock, and I guarantee you'll find people that started their careers in recreation. Now, they may not have stayed in recreation, but it definitely opened their eyes up to public service and to city government. So they may have gotten their start in recreation, but then they had a little bit of interest, maybe in engineering and stuff like that. But that was their doorway into city government and public service, which I think is huge, and it speaks to the volume of the good work that people in recreation continue to do, because people stay in city government and really help the community.
Yeah, and I'd like to take this chance to really differentiate. When we say the word government workers, a lot of times DC, which is often affected by special interest groups, comes to mind, and you kind of get a bad rap. But when I think city government or municipal government, it is where it's hit at the community level. This is literally the people putting together, maintaining the playgrounds, the family reunions, the picnics, the special events, everything we've mentioned here today. And so I don't want you to get this, I'm going to work for the government thinking that all this chaos we see in politics, that's not what we're talking about. It couldn't be further from the truth.
None of that. No, some cities may have some chaos in their politics, but I can speak to my city. I'm very fortunate. I have a very supportive city council. I have a very supportive executive team, and our staff's amazing. So definitely not the government that most people are thinking. This is more boots on the ground. These are the people that, even if they don't live in your city, they care deeply about the work that they're doing in your city. They spend a lot of, I spend probably more time in the city I work in than I do in the city I live in. Definitely.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so, gosh, I can't believe it's been 57 minutes already. I'm trying to get it all in here. All right, so Mr. Raymond, how old were you when you started on this journey?
30 years.
So 30, you were 30 years old?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what's the message you're giving to some 30-year-old man that's inspired by this story, by seeing you and your son? What kind of encouraging words, what kind of quick 101 elevator speech would you give him to just kind of him off the cliff so that he'll maybe do exactly what you're doing in another city?
Well, the thing is that parents need to invest in their children, number one. And I do that with my boys. I have 6 boys now, but I invested time on them to make sure they're involved in something creative, whatever they can do, whether it's baseball, basketball, anything it is. Always make sure they got involved in it. And that time I was coaching as well. I was coaching at another site, and I said, I got to stop coaching. I need to do something else. And fortunately, I was approached for this job, not to volunteer, but to work. But I said, no, I want to volunteer. But I think that the parents, and that's why when I started working here, I started getting more parents involved. I'd have a big group of all my football teams together, go in the gym, take pictures, have a potluck. Where if it was basketball, do the same thing. I want everybody to recognize each other, that because they're going to be each other's neighbors, they're going to be each other's eyes. And there's something happening in the community, let me know. Says, well, I don't want to call the cops because my neighbor said, you tell me, I'll take care of it. I will be your spokesperson for you, because I know they didn't want to rat on somebody, something like that. So I said, no, I'll take care of it. Just let me know. And that way we build a relationship with the family within the community. And that made it more functional for all of us. And that's how if I knew the kids and I knew the parents, I said, no, I'm going to go talk to your dad. Okay. So we kind of put a lid on that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Trixie, clip that last 60 seconds. That's the money shot right there. That wisdom is, we're going to make that a short. That's the wisdom we're looking for, as far as, get the family involved, have those potlucks. You're actually community building. It's not just a slogan. You're actively building connection between parents and fathers and mothers and kids and community. Is there any other advice similar to that you'd like to pass on?
Yeah,
what about for someone that's in the profession, like one of your former coordinator, someone, or your part-timers that wants to stay?
I've had seven staff that become coordinators. Okay, and I mentor through them. And I told them that they needed to, move forward, get a job where you're going to pay your go to school. That way you can be one of my jobs. You can take more of my job, and a lot of them did that. I mean, they're good. I mean, they're very good. I said, Jesus Christ, I would have hired you today if you came here, because they loved it. Okay, they loved what they were doing. And right now I got a couple of more staff. Matter of fact, I have a young lady became my assistant. She grew up in the community. Now she's my assistant. She's got a master's degree, BA degree, but she's doing this. She's my assistant. So, all right, when you leave, I'm coming taking your place.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and there's quite a few of them. They just recently got promoted. My assistant just got promoted also. So,
okay. So anybody looking to become something great, often you should look at what you're doing. What kind of person is it making of you? Because if you're doing something, let's just say that's easy or not challenging, or your heart's not in it, then I think you just don't dig as deep. You don't find strength that wasn't there. But when you're doing something as important as what you're doing, I imagine a lot of times through your years, you've said, I'm going to have to go become this or get this or go find that money, or maybe talk about the strengths that you had to go find within yourself on behalf of these kids and community. What kind of man did it make of you along the way?
Yeah, I just feel happy. I feel proud. I can rub it a bit, rub it in and say, hey man, that was my stuff you hired. That was my stuff. And I think that just self-pride within yourself, what took you to get there to these people, but not really. You're patting yourself on the back. I evaluate myself every 6 months to a year. I evaluate what I'm doing wrong, what I'm not doing right. Just kind of, and once I through that evaluation, it tells me to keep moving forward. And that's why I'm here 42 years now. That's why I keep going, because I evaluate and I take pride that I can give this person an opportunity to move forward, and they enjoy it because they see I enjoy it.
Fantastic. Any closing remarks?
No, I just want to tell you, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. It's really those questions and stuff that you brought out, it just bring me back that I guess it's got to be said somehow. Okay, somehow that people can reach out and hopefully they can take care of their people, their communities, and invest in them.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Raymond, thank you so much for your service to the community. And I hope that you'll inspire many others to follow in your footsteps, to see that it's been a very fruitful life that you've lived so far, with hopefully many years left to come. And even after you finish with this life, I think you're going to have an army of people following in your footsteps because they've been impacted by the work you've done. So,
but I also want to give credit to my son Robert, because
yes.
he's been an inspiration to me too. You know, it's like I can build he goes, oh, my son's a director, you know, and I can talk highly about it. So I got bragging rights now.
Well, look, underneath all great men, you'll find an army of great men underneath them that lifted them up. And so if it weren't for guys like you, men like you, investing in the next generation, we would probably not be where we are. Maybe we'd be in a worse place. So we are kind of a product of the environment that you helped create.
Yeah. I love the quote, do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Do it so well that someone will pay you to do it.
Oh, fantastic.
I think we're so very fortunate to do something that we love and we're passionate about. And I think that passion kind of goes back to the things we've been talking about of like, because we loved it so much, we're always looking at how do we improve it? How do we make it better? How do we give back to it? That's now the point I'm at in my career now is like looking at how do I continue to improve myself so that I can continue to give back, how to continue to improve on the profession, how I can give back to the profession. I'm actually going back to school to improve myself. Just got my certification, and I'm going to start looking at also, how can I start developing presentations and giving back to at conferences, and we're looking at that next generation because I know I'm not going to be here forever, and I want those that come after me to do better than me, right? To really keep pushing the profession forward, and because as long as they're doing that, I know the community is benefiting from it. And then maybe it's not my community, but it's someone's community. And all of those kids in those communities deserve to have quality programming and quality resources.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Excuse me, one quick. I hate to interrupt you. I got to give a shout out to my other son. He's a varsity coach at the high school we have for the last 3 years, and I got the opportunity to coach now JV and freshman teams. So because I always had always had it behind. I want to coach. Well, now I got an opportunity to do it at high school.
Yeah.
So, but he's doing a fantastic job.
So, and to share with you, that high school is in the same neighborhood where so a lot of these kids come through the programs here in recreation. That's the high school they go to. I think I had shared with you in our first conversation that high school has never been known for its basketball program. I'll say that nicely. And my younger brother has become the varsity coach there in the last 3 years. This last season, they went undefeated. Got the league championship, and they also went semifinals in the California CIF championship. So very proud of him and the work he's doing, the lives he's impacting by being just a phenomenal coach.
And what's his name?
Adam Aguirre.
Adam, fantastic! Congratulations, Adam.
Yeah, he's awesome.
And thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of telling this story. I know I read a lot of dead guys. Sometimes they've been dead for 1,000 years. And if somebody had not written their wisdom down, I would be cut off from it by many generations. And so that's why I think this is so important to capture the wisdom y'all have here, the life stories y'all have, and encapsulate them for this video could have 1,000-year shelf life. I still watch old Earl Nightingale videos, black and white stuff, and he was dead 20 years before I was born. So I appreciate y'all coming and tell your story, and we're going to continue to share it. Hopefully after all of us are dead, men will still be being inspired by the testimony I've just given here.
Thank you again, Craig. I really appreciate it. And being able to share this with my father means a lot. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, maybe we'll do this in another year, check back in, and maybe get your brother up here too. We'll have a whole family, family reunion. Let's keep it going.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Y'all have a great week.
Thank you.
See you. Yep. Bye-bye. Wow, what a great show. Okay, the editors are going to have a blast with that one. There were so many great moments in there that we want to share. This is exactly why I started this channel, because I know there's such powerful messages and stories to be told in this industry that are just quiet. They're quiet stories. Listening to Mr. Raymond, being a very humble man, not looking for pats on the backs, but at the same time, we need those stories out there so that it can inspire people. Sometimes you just don't know where to go or what to do. But if you can see somebody do it, then you're like, all right, if they can do it, then I can do it. And I think this is just one of those great stories that can inspire men to follow in their footsteps, and already have, so now we're just capturing it digitally, putting it on YouTube, getting it out there. And so if you know of someone that has a similar story to Mr. Raymond and Robert, please, y'all come on here. Let's capture this for the community. Let's show best practices. Let's show those examples of taking a program from 0 to 40 years later. We're doing phenomenal work, ongoing, multi-generational, because, there are some true rock stars out there that have just been doing an outstanding job for decades. And this was one of them. So it's an honor to be able to do whatever I can to facilitate this, turn the mic on, and, try to build these platforms up and capture it in these content libraries forever. So appreciate all the love and support that everyone's given me for this show. And then also just, many times I'm just this is why I have the title, The Doorman. I am literally just opening the door. The real talent and the real treasure is in this community, their stories and the work that they're doing. I'm literally just turning on the mic and just, giving them the platform. And today's show is a great example of that. And there's countless other stories out there like that I think, not just great heartwarming stories that will help you dedicate your life to something meaningful and purposeful, but also some of those how-tos. One of the greatest I got out of there, which I hope they clip this part, was where Mr. Raymond just said, do a potluck, get to meet the parents, have the parents meet the parents. And that way you're building community, because just old Sun Tzu's Art of War, you're weakest when you're by yourself. But when you have family, extended family, community, that's where true strength comes from. It's hard for a kid to slip through the crack when he's part of a system like they've created. It's hard to lose a whole family when the whole family belongs to a group of families that band together. But when we're all just kind of fighting on our own, fighting life, and it comes at us, life can just start picking off kids, and that's how kids get lost. But sometimes the difference between ending up in prison and ending up a success is just having a community around you. And if you want to do this for a living, Parks and Rec is where it happens. This is where community is built. This is where, your tax dollars, your property tax, your nonprofit dollars actually goes to put shoes on kids, uniforms on kids, coaching lessons are being had on the field. And for the most part, these kids have no other ability to join some kind of elite sports team or do something that this city is their only safety net. And it's so important. So let's make sure that Parks and Rec never is in that category of, well, we can cut here, because this is what you'd be cutting. You'd be cutting the heart out of your community. And we don't want to see that happen. And so let's keep the funding going. Let's keep we're going to lift up more and more of these stories and get it out into the public so that this noble work that can be done gets the credit it deserves and gets the funding it deserves and needs to continue this great work. So awesome job. Thank you all so much for coming on the show today. I'm just going to go ahead and close it there because we're already running way over, and I'll promote the other shows later. Tomorrow, we do have some great shows coming up. Of course, we got good YPN. And finally, our facilities maintenance show is starting to take off now that I've got everything done on the back end, on the technical side. But love you guys. Thank y'all so much for coming on today and tuning in. I will see y'all here tomorrow. Craig LeBlanc, the Doorman, signing off. I'll take care. Bye. The future of parks and recreation is here, and it starts with you. Welcome back to the Daily Parks and Recreation Show, where we bring you the latest insights, trends, and conversations shaping the world of parks and recreation. Today, we're diving into something that's shaping the future of our industry, Young Professional Networks, or YPN. If you love your job and love the parks and recreation community and are looking to connect with the next generation of leaders, this episode is for you. YPN is where driven, passionate professionals come together to connect, grow, and make a real impact. It's not just about networking, It's about building the future of our communities. Why join YPN? Career growth and mentorship. Learn from the best in the industry. Innovative ideas and collaboration. Be part of the next big movement. Leadership development. Take charge, make decisions, and create change. Whether you're just starting out or looking to take your career to the next level, YPN is your gateway to success. From exclusive networking opportunities to cutting-edge industry insights, this is where you build your legacy. Because the future of parks and recreation starts with you.